Hello and welcome to the next episode of the final whistle after what was a hard-fought win for Liverpool in the end. It was a bit of a stop-start performance, but the main thing after Manchester City dropped some points earlier on today, the Reds were able to capitalise and get the win in the end. So delighted to join me tonight to talk through the game. We have Shawnee FC and Steve Brown. How are you, gents? How did you? How does the heart settle down now after the Alisson show?
Let you go first, Steve. I was calm the whole way through. It was a strange performance, but lit up by a goalkeeper that saves you points. A goalkeeper wins you 3 points. That's what we paid the big money for. His flick is fucking outrageous.
Can we, I tweeted before, can we just spend the whole show talking about that flick? Because I'll be honest, lads, it got me off my seat, and it's not many times that you can say that about a goalkeeper. You happy with that one, Shawnee?
Oh, stop. He had me hard in my mouth, but I think it'll be a couple of weeks now before we start to trust him and doing stuff like that, you know what I mean? It's part and parcel, comes with it when you have a goalkeeper like that who likes to dwindle on the ball and zing passes out of his own area 50, 60 yards, but when he done knock out with the flick over the head, I just burst into laughter.
See, the thing is that I noticed as well about the crowd is usually if that was a Mignolet or if that's a Karius, the nerves that kind of spread through the stadium, you can see that they completely trust this fella already. And that was, I suppose, what we'll go through the game step by step. But that was one thing that surprised me a little bit was the fans today seemed very noisy. They seemed right behind this team, and although it was a bit of a stop-start performance by Liverpool, you could argue that there was full confidence in the stadium that we'd get the job done. Would you agree, Steve?
Yeah, it's what carried on from the other night. It's a patience. The patient build-up was kind of spread to the crowd as well, where there is that patience now. It's not edge of the seat, come on, straight away stuff. It's as if the crowd are understanding now that this is what the team is about. It's not about 100 mile an hour football from the kick-off. We're going to have to break teams down. There's very few teams that are going to come and try and play against us at Anfield. Brighton didn't. They tried to come and stop us. In fairness, they've done a decent job. But it translated to the crowd. Once they seen that it was a patient build-up, the crowd decided to be patient as well. Not getting on anyone's backs for keeping the ball, moving it sideways, moving it back forwards. It was decent. It wasn't the levels of City or Roma, you know what I mean? But it was alright for a Saturday evening.
And I think that's a fair point, because I mean, Shawnee, if you look at how we played, against West Ham, I didn't feel like we clicked into full gear there. I think Crystal Palace was a different type of game where we had to earn the right to play, and I think we were impressive. But today it kind of felt like as a team, right across the team actually, we kind of seemed stuck in second gear a little bit. Yeah,
look, going back to the earlier point you made about the crowd, actually, I've been at the West Ham game. It was very, very evident that in other years when I've been at games, the crowd would be, like Steve said, the five ways fucking sideways pass, 5-yard pass, the crowd would be getting on players back. But it's more of a feeling of it's coming than the raw, like that atmosphere that normally builds around that pressure. It's like it's coming, we'll get there. Like today, I actually thought, like, if that was one of those games that if that's played in a March in a title run in on a Wednesday night at 8 o'clock and you get the 1-0 over the line, you'd be delighted. It's just because the start of the season, all the talk is about us and City blowing teams away. But look, listen, you just have to get the 3 points over the line at the end of the day, regardless of the result. But saying that, I didn't feel like the result was in any danger at any stage. I was fairly relaxed right the way through.
Yeah, I was kind of the same. I think the only real time that they looked to threaten was probably through our own sloppiness. I think a little bit lethargic in our passing. The lads, as I said, seemed stuck in second gear, and sometimes they were able to turn the ball over, and we just looked a little, as I said, a little bit sloppy. But again, I think now we look at this team and we touch on it kind of every week now at this stage. The the leaders that we have throughout that team. You know, you look around at Virgil van Dijk, he just exudes composure and confidence. Alisson as well, flicking balls over people's heads. Probably a bit too much confidence, to be fair, at times. But, you know, we have leaders across this Liverpool team now. Even Jordan Henderson, you know, he comes on and tries to stamp authority. And you can see that transmits to the fans. And I think from our side, the fact that we're able... I don't think we've conceded a goal yet this season. And we've probably been a little bit stuttering going forward. You know, for us to be able to capitalise on a City drop points, you know, we're sat top of the table, having not really performed at our best and not conceded a goal. You know, you can't really ask much more from the lads, Steve.
It's the perfect start, really, isn't it? We've scored goals. We've kind of had 3 different displays, which is interesting in the 3 games. West Ham we blew away. Palace was a dig in and kill the game off in a different type of way to today. Today was a bit sloppy. Today wasn't great. There was no tempo to the game. There was no one trying to force it. There was no one linking anything up. It was very divided. It was a very sectioned game compared to what we've seen on Monday night. But again, it's another 3 points. It's 9 out of 9. It's no goals conceded. It's 7 goals scored in 3 games without the front 3 clicking. Firmino looked a bit sharper today than he has done. Salah looked completely off it. Mane was terrible for us half today. But yeah, we're still winning games. Like we won really good chance today, and that was put away back in the net. End of story.
Well, that kind of leads me on, I suppose, to the game, because I think for the first 20 minutes, you know, we seemed quite calm, quite composed. It wasn't exactly full throttle, but we were playing with authority and confidence, and you know, it was kind of like we were just sussing them out. I think one thing that strikes me about this Liverpool team at the moment is, you know, we don't need to rush. We don't need to blow teams away. You know what I mean? We don't need to play full throttle all the time. You know, and through a little bit of sloppiness from Brighton, we just seemed ruthless, Shawnee. You know, it wasn't even really a great chance for Mo, but he tucked it away brilliantly.
Yeah, it was kind of like today when we seen the City result. You wanted, like before the game, look, go out and put a foot on the neck here, and go out and blow them away. Like you said, it was calculated again. The same way that the win against West Ham was calculated destruction. Last week, calculated again at Palace. Go and hit them then the sucker punch, take the 2-0 and get out of there, take the points. Today, look, we didn't create an awful lot of chances. I thought the front 3 were trying to be too nice at times. I'll be honest, I thought Naby Keita struggled today in the second half. We were very, very sloppy in possession. But we had the players there. We had Milner, who was going around and putting challenges in all over the park. You can even see there was a couple of times where the Brighton boys were leaving it on Milner for equalisers. We have that now. We're a nasty team now. We have that. And then Henderson just comes in again. Another 20-30 minute cameo where he just comes in, pulls everyone together and starts pulling the strings and moving the ball around the park and getting us back up the pitch again. Because Brighton had that 10-minute spell in the second half where they were getting at us down the sides. And Henderson just comes in and then just restores the calm. And then a nice little cameo from Sturridge.
Yeah, it's interesting that you say about the midfield, because that was something that I wanted to pick up on, and I kind of agree. I mean, I thought that Naby started very brightly in terms of picking up little pockets of space, driving from deep. He seemed to have a little bit more authority about his game today. You can see that he's growing into, I don't want to say a talismanic role, but you know, you can see that he wants the ball all the time. But one thing surprised me, and I'll come to you on this, Steve. The one thing that surprised me about the midfield is how much their positions change. So you could see James Milner occupying the right-hand side. Then he spent a sort of 10-minute spell on the left-hand side. The players are interchanging all the time. That must be very difficult for opposition teams to play against.
Yeah, it's constant rotation, isn't it? It's something that we've kind of picked up on, that we talked about the other night, Jamie, with Al. That it's like the team is split. When we have the ball, we have a left hand side and we have a right hand side, and we've one man in the middle. So you have Robertson, Naby Keita, Mane and Van Dijk to the left, and there it's like 2 4-a-side teams. and with Firmino floating in between as well. Like, and it's very interesting. Like, it's constant, as you said, it's constant movement, it's constant rotation. It's Milner doing 10 minutes sitting, then swapping with Wijnaldum, let Wijnaldum do 10 minutes sitting. Keita's just floating wherever he wants to be. It must be a nightmare. Like, today wasn't even the best example of it because we didn't get up to any kind of tempo. It could have been, when it does click, it's going to be absolutely frightening because it's going to pull teams all over the place. We pulled Brighton about a little bit today. They were very good in holding the shape that they wanted to hold, slowing us down that way. But you can see when we do press a team, and it's something that I've noticed in the first couple of games, that we haven't gone all out pressing yet. We're picking and choosing. We're not running around like we were at the start or during last season, where it was 100 miles an hour from the start. Firmino's taking more time. Not taking more time, but he's picking and choosing moments now, rather than just going and pressing everyone that moves. The goal comes from, I think it was Milner choosing to press their centre midfielder. I think it was Milner won the ball back. It was Milner who won the ball back.
Yeah.
So, but again, Brighton were not letting them, but Brighton were playing out from the back a fair bit because we were standing off waiting for that opportunity, that moment that we knew we were on press. And once we did, it was frightening because it was two more touches and the ball's in the back of the net.
But that was one thing, just on that, we were talking about the midfield, and another player that really shone for me today was Wijnaldum. And it's kind of gone under the radar a little bit. As you rightly said, Shawnee, I think Naby died off as the game went on. I think James Milner put in a typical James Milner performance. But with every game now, Wijnaldum seems to be making the shirt his own. And it's going to give Klopp some interesting headaches moving forward, Shawnee.
Yeah, but that being said, Jamie, that's a great problem to have. But the West Ham game, for me, was the best player on the park. And speaking to Graves during the week, he said he was the one who stood out against Palace as well on Monday night. And today, he was everywhere. He uses his body so well to shield the ball and get us out of tricky positions. And he's getting back in as well. And then this year, he's able to move forward as well. So, I think this time last year, we'd a midfield that Chan, Henderson and Wijnaldum or Milner, whichever way you want to have it. And they were coming out, they were doing the job, but you were coming out games saying, well, what do our midfielders do? Like, you know what I mean? None of them really specialise in anything. They're just there, they're present, and our front three does all the work. But you can clearly see the roles now from our midfield players like Naby being everywhere, James Milner being everywhere, and then Gini Wijnaldum again. For me, I said it already, the best player on the park. And considering he was one of the players that was touted to be shipped out during the season, and a player who probably most wouldn't have in their best 11 coming into the start of the season. Henderson or Fabinho are going to have a really, really tough time removing him from the side.
He's himself undroppable, Jay. He's played himself. Certain players appreciate competition and they raise their game. This is what Al said the other night when he was at Leicester, and he was so comfortable, and then whoever it was, wherever he was, and they brought in another left back, and he had to up his game. And this is what Wijnaldum has done. He could have sat and moaned and went, alright, well, I'm not going to get a look in here, so we'll get a move. No, he dug his heels in and said, I'm going to be starting the first game of the season. I'm going to make sure I'm going to start the second. I made sure I'm starting the third. And he's made sure now he's starting next week as well, because he can't drop him after performances like that.
Well, I think he's kind of the poster boy for what Klopp wants. He always says, have the right attitude. When you come in, if you do well, you keep the shirt. And that's exactly what he's been doing. Just to pick up on a couple of the chats that are coming through, it seems that Joe Gomez is getting a good few special mentions. If we look at the back four collectively, their job is to keep shutouts, and we've done that perfectly, arguably faultless at this stage. It's probably, there's been moments where Alisson's been called on and he's done what a 75 million goalkeeper should do. He's delivered in key moments. But there's lots of green shoots for me around the centre-back partnership. How impressed were you, Shawnee, with Joe Gomez today?
He was excellent again. He recovers very well. I think that he's an absolute athlete. But he's very good on the ball as well. You know what I mean? Like there was times last year when we seen him pushed out the right back, and then he was forced to actually use his football and go up and down the line. And you can see that's paying dividends from now, because the amount of time where he has the ball and he has time, whereas Matthew and Lovren wouldn't do it. He just carries the ball into the midfield. He stretches them out, and then he's giving us another outlet. So not only he's like saying that, like he's beside the best centre back in Europe on form at the moment. You know what I mean? So he's only going to learn. But the 3 games he's been brilliant. And to be actually, there was a few times today where I actually thought he dug Van Dijk out. To be honest.
Yeah, and I think you touched on it. I think the big, the massive trait that he has is that recovery pace. And you can, I spoke to you in particular, Steve, around the pre-season game in Dublin, and I was watching Gomez closely, and he seems to have dips in concentration that I was a little bit worried about going into big games of the season, but he's completely proven me wrong. And I know when we speak to Al, he's glowing about Joe Gomez and the impact that Virgil van Dijk seems to be having with him. So what I'll ask you then, Steve, is does Lovren come back into the side, or does Gomez keep his shirt now for a prolonged period of time?
I think he has to keep the shirt. It's going to be interesting to see. I don't think we're going to see Lovren next week against Leicester. I don't think he'll be fit. It'd be interesting to see after the international break. Klopp loves a redemption story, and Spurs away is the first game after the international break, which is worrying. But Gomez, he hasn't put a foot wrong. In the other 3 games, as we said about Wijnaldum, he's made himself undroppable. And it's going to be a case that Klopp can turn around to Matip and Lovren and say, well, look, clean sheets, no mistakes. He's in. That's it. At the moment, there's no other argument. There's no reason for a rotation. He had a full pre-season. He didn't go to the World Cup. I just don't see there being a question. And I'd be one of Dejan Lovren's biggest fans, and I just don't see him getting back in at the minute because Gomez hasn't put a foot wrong.
It's Kev O'Sullivan just mentions on the chat there. He says Glenn Murray and Benteke are 2 of the toughest threats aerially for Gomez, and he's passed that test with flying colours. And to be honest, they're probably the type of challenges that you'd worry more if he's up against pace. He has that in abundance. So you'd nearly, the fact that he's been able to stand up to 2 of the wiliest, most physical customers, Sean, is definitely a positive for the future.
Yeah, exactly. That was a great point by Kev, seeing that in the chat there as well. And another thing to mention as well is, it was Glenn Murray and Benteke, but there was Zaha and Lockhart as well, who, when he used to cover his fullback, they're the 2 players that he's chasing. You know what I mean? So
that's he's playing
2 story tests, and he's playing on the side with Trent, who was very good on the ball, but sometimes can be caught. And look, that's going to happen when you have your fullbacks flying forward, and he's able to recover as well. So to be honest, like the experiment of him playing in right back last year has literally been just a perfect segue for him to move in beside Van Dijk now when he's needed. He's put, like Steve said, Klopp only has to say is it's 3 games, it's 3 clean sheets, and the lad hasn't put his foot wrong. So it's up to you to get back into my plans now, because these 2 are my starting centre backs. And that's a glowing reference for the young lads. He's been unbelievable.
It's interesting you mentioned the right back thing, because it's kind of similar to what they did with Carragher when Carragher came in. They played him at full back. Well, he was actually a centre midfielder, but they played him at full back, got him comfortable on the ball, and then he made the move to centre back. So it's nearly like a rite of passage. You get used to being on the ball without too much pressure of being the centre back. And you can see now that, because I think his comfort on the ball is there for everybody to see now. So real positive performance again, and positive signs for the future. One thing I wanted to touch on actually, which surprised me a little bit today, is the form of Mane and Salah today. So Salah takes his goal brilliantly, but he has a couple of chances that he snatches at. I think his link-up play probably wasn't as sharp as what it's been. And it seemed like a frustrating afternoon as well for Mane, Steve.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It looked like one of those days where they didn't need to be at their best to get it done. And 1-0 always kind of looked like enough today. The worst thing being that they need to hit the ground running. You nearly appreciate when we get through the first 4 games, the block of first 4 games, international break. If he didn't play, if either of them didn't go away, you wouldn't be too upset about it. Another week of training, working together. They just haven't clicked yet. Even the West Ham game, they just haven't clicked. Mane looked decent, but since then, I don't know. It's very hard to explain. I can't put my finger on why it is. It could be different systems. It could be different movements, whatever it may be. It just hasn't. We haven't hit the fucking ground yet. Basically,
it could be simply a rhythm thing, Steve. You know, because we said. You know, we said at the start of the season, you know, it's going to take us 5-6 games to get us into that playing rhythm, and I think you know me well enough now, lads. I'm always the eternal optimist, but for me, you know, all I want to see now is that we are compact. We're doing professional jobs. Performances will come. But the fact that this Liverpool team, you know, I always say you can't build a house on soggy foundations. Liverpool now have a solid base with the goalkeeper and the defence, where we don't need to blow teams away. We don't need loads of goals. And there's an assurance and a composure about this Liverpool team, Shawnee, now that perhaps hasn't been there for a while.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's all well and good and your front three are flying and you're winning games 4-3 and 3-2 and all that. Like, we're going to concede marginal, like less goals. Like, so what was the last year we conceded? I've just read there, it's 22 goals in the last 35 Premier League games. So if you're keeping that many clean sheets, you only need the one goal. You know what I mean? And
never concede again with Alisson.
Look, listen, the thing is...
Never conceding a goal again, that's it, we're done.
We're talking about the three front boys not showing up, but they're putting numbers on the board. Like, you know what I mean? Mane's 3 goals, couple of assists. That was Salah's second goal today, couple of assists. Firmino, admittedly, but he's the unselfish one, you know what I mean? He's the one who provides. Look,
I was delighted that Mo scored, Shawnee, because he was the captain of my fantasy football team today, mate. So I'm delighted that Mo got me one.
Well, listen, at this rate, if the boys never show up, we still might win the league. You know what I mean? with them averages, they're not too bad. You're like...
It's very early days in the season, lads, and you know, I think people get a little bit carried away in terms of talking about you know, title challenges this early. But what type of message do you think that sends with Manchester City dropping points that you didn't expect today? You know, we've heard the noises that their players were asking as they got off the bus the other day how Liverpool got on. So we're occupying their mind, which is the perfect situation for us to be in. But what type of message do you think that sends today? That, you know, when, you know, there was a little bit of pressure on, you know, we want to capitalise on any slip ups from them. What type of message does that send, Steve, to the rest of the league that Liverpool can do the business when required?
It's a different mentality. It's shown a different mentality, because how many times have we seen this before where whoever plays the early game slips up and then we then go and drop points as well. Whereas this evening was just a case of get the job done, put pressure on City, and that's what, like, so it sounds ridiculous after 3 games, like going, oh yeah, we're now 2 points clear of them or whatever it is. But that's the kind of level that you need to keep up. Like, lads can say what they like. City dropped 14 points all season last season. There's 2 straight away. Yeah. It's just a matter of keeping up, put the pressure on. If it is a case, you just want to get as close to City as possible. I can't see an epic meltdown from them. It's not as if this is a start of a bad fucking run. Like, it's just the mentality just seemed to be, we're getting 3 points, fuck everything else. Let City worry about us.
I just want them to know that we're not going away. That's it. I just want them, you know, this Liverpool team, we're not shaking them this year. We're not going to get an easy run at this team are the real deal.
Yeah. The thing is, like, you look at City's opening seven games. Like, I think in that opening 8 games, they played Arsenal and then they Huddersfield. So in their opening 7 games, they played the 3 teams that came up last year and the 3 teams that came up this season. Most of us were chalking them now for 7 out of 7. You know what I mean? Yeah. If you win, if they had 21 points after them 7 games, it's that thing again where they're just relentless. Because we gave them that springboard last year when they thumped us 5-0 at the Etihad. That was their springboard to just go on that mad run. That mad run until after Christmas, where they won 18, 19 games on the row.
I think it was the Bournemouth game, Johnny. Remember they beat Bournemouth and Sterling got the 97th winner or something. That was the key. That would kick it off for them. They won 2-1. That's what today could be for us. Do you know what I mean? A Poxy, Scaldy 1-0 win.
Exactly.
Goes on to a run.
Kev makes a good point.
It's better to be leading the pack than to be chasing the pack, and I think we're at the putting ourselves in a great position now going into an international break. Admittedly, a tough game next week against Leicester away. But if we could get another win next week, well, laughing's got into the...
Perfect segue for me there, Shawnee, because before we usually finish with man of the matches, so we'll do that in a moment. But just looking ahead to the fixtures, we haven't got an easy run coming up now. You know, Leicester has the potential to be a little bit difficult. You know, they'll be buoyant off the back of a last-minute winner today, and then we have Spurs away, Southampton at home, and Chelsea away. So, you know, I think when you look at the team, it was good to see Sturridge get some minutes today. You know, we haven't even seen Shaqiri much yet. What do you expect the focus to be going into this Leicester game, and do you see the likes of Henderson coming back into the side ahead of that tricky tie, I suppose?
To be honest, I was expecting changes today, but he just went with the same 11 again. I'd imagine, bar any injuries, he'll probably go with the same 11 again next week. Look, if it's broken, don't fix it. Like, you know what I mean? Well, clean sheets and getting the 3 points out. I think you go with it again. But there you go. Like the likelihood, like we haven't even brought Shaqiri off the bench. Lallana is still there. Sturridge got minutes today. Fabinho can't even make a bench. Now I'm not worried about that at all. I think when the time is right, he is a player of real quality. He'll find his way into the squad. But it just goes to show that's the level that we're operating at. And we haven't even had to call on these players yet. And we haven't even got out to work here yet. So all the signs are positive.
What about you, Steve? Would you make any changes going into the Leicester game? I know you wax lyrical about the influence that Henderson can have, particularly in the big games.
Yeah, I think Henderson. If there's one change next week, it's Henderson. The difference with the Palace game and today when he comes on is the calmness, and he doesn't force it, but he ups the tempo. He moves the ball quicker than anyone else we have, and look, lads can slag him off and whatever. People fucking take the piss out of him. I don't see many better players at doing what he does. We certainly don't have a player that is better at doing what he does in the team. He comes on, as I said, he puts his foot in the ball, shifts the ball. He just shifts it and forces players to play where he wants them to play. The balls are put ahead of it. It's not going to feet. It's a yard ahead of someone. Or, you know, it's just a bit of fucking know-how about it. So I think it'll be him for... It's hard to say. This is the problem. Like, it could just be a case of saying again, no one's kind of played their way out of the team. So it's going to be tough calls. It's going to be hard lines for someone. Like, but these are the calls you have to make. Leicester away is no barrel of laughs at all. But yeah, it is what it is. I can't you grind out another 1-0 there, but why not?
So there's two questions that I want to finish on because we're going to try and keep these shows to 30 minutes each week. We've got a couple of minutes left. One of the two questions. The first one come in on the chat, and it's from Gizzle, who says, "Is there a better defence in the league right now?" And we'll just have a yes or no from both of you lads. I'll come to you first, Shawnee.
No.
Steve?
No.
Love it, lads. Love it. And then to finish, lads, what I want to do, I want to ask you man of the match today. I think we touched on a few players, but it'd be interesting to see who was your main standout. So I'll come to you first, Steve. Man of the match.
Alisson. It's a long time since we've been able to talk about a goalkeeper being man of the match and a goalkeeper winning us points. He makes a lot of stuff look very easy. He comes for crosses, he comes for free kicks, he punches. There was a punch there, or like a knockdown in the second half where he knocked the ball down to Henderson. He came for the cross and actually looks at where Henderson is before he even touches it and knocks it down, palms it down to him.
Plays a true ball with his hands.
Yeah, he plays a true ball with his hands. There's obviously the dink, which is outrageous. He nearly gets caught, but that's what we're going to have to live with. If you want the dinks over lads' heads, you're going to have to worry about players pressuring them and him making sloppy clearances. But there's the big save at the end. It's a free header in the 6-yard box, and he makes the save. Wins us the 3 points. This is man of the match every day.
Shawnee?
Genie. Thought Genie was brilliant again. I think he's a player who doesn't get enough love at all from our fans. Admittedly, over the last couple of games, he has been getting his praises, but like even after the West Ham game, everyone was talking about Keita. There was compilation videos of Keita, but Genie again was outstanding, ever present and everywhere, and he's made himself undroppable.
For what it's worth, they were the two that I was torn between. I think I'm going to go with Ste on this one. I think with Alisson, when called upon, so many times in the past we've played well and then we concede with the only shot on target. When called upon, 85th minute, it would have been a very typical Liverpool goal to concede. So to have a goalkeeper who's switched on and makes big saves in big moments, for me is the man of the match. So that brings us to our 30 minutes, gents. So I want to thank you both for your time. I look forward to having you on throughout the season. Two of the more optimistic trippers, so it's fantastic to get us all together and talk about how we're going to win the league and not concede any goals and break all the records. So thank you very much, gents. You can enjoy the rest of your Saturday night now. For everybody that's joined in, for everybody that sends us questions, thanks for getting involved. Make sure you tune in every week, straight away on Twitter, on Periscope, on YouTube after the game. Next up for the day trippers, we have the Fatback 4 on Sunday. So make sure you tune in, spread the word, subscribe, and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take it easy.